Tom Vandevelde will be playing his Esper Midrange deck. It's a deck he developed recently. It's a pretty new player in the metagame. So it's a bit of a good stuff deck. It's pretty interesting. It tries to win off Dragonlord Ojutai or Gideon or Sorin. Has some control elements, has some ingest elements, and he plays the Ulamog's Nullifier as a way to gain advantage in the mid game. In the meantime, Arthur is on Sphinx's Tutelage, so the blue-red mill deck, which is pretty much a straight port from the actual standard deck that I believe won a GP at some point.
It's not blue-red, it's blue-white.
Ah, it's blue-white. Okay, so it has a lot more control. So it's more blue-white control with the Tutelage as a finisher. Yeah, it's blue-white control without creatures and with Tutelage as a finisher.
So basically controlling the shit out of your opponent.
Yeah, and waiting until he bleeds to death.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it over to you, Natalie, if you want to talk about anything. I'm gonna go with the players to the feature match area to explain some things.
Okay. So hey guys, I hope you're having a good time. So we're gonna watch the match between Arthur and Tom. They're both on 1-0, so they both won their first match. So it's gonna be an exciting game. It's gonna be very good matchup, I think. So Niels is just informing our players on for the coverage. So as we said before, on the left we will be having Sphinx Tutelage, which is Arthur playing, and on the right we have Tom Vandevelde, who is playing Esper Midrange.
Well, okay, and we're ready to go. As you see, our players are keeping life totals themselves with little pieces of paper. Right now, that's the only means we have to have life total control over a distance, so we can talk without them hearing it. At GPs, you usually have this one very sorrow guy sitting next to the table doing nothing but updating life totals, but fortunately we're not upscale enough to get away with stuff like that at this point. So again, if you're in the chat, if you have any questions, feel free. We have an eye on the chat to answer your questions. This is a Gentry standard tournament, and which means it's a budget version of standard where you're allowed 15 uncommons and up to 4 unique rares and or mythics, as you see in the bottom of the screen right now. Cool, right? So this is the finals event. We have 2 of these every year, a few weeks before the rotation, in a way to celebrate the cards leaving the format, because the rotation will be after Shadows over Innistrad, and then Khans of Tarkir and Fate Reforged will go out of the format.
Is Dragons rotating out as well?
No, Dragons and Magic Origins is staying in the format. So the next standard will be Dragons of Tarkir, Magic Origins, Battle for Zendikar, and Oath of the Gatewatch. So we have a question here. It seems like a weird rule. Why not set a price limit like $50 or something? The problem with that is that Magic prices fluctuate, and especially if you have a hard limit, and depending on which source you use to price your cards, you can get a lot of different answers. It would be pretty horrible to be playing a deck and then suddenly your uncommon becomes a tournament staple and is worth $6 and you can't play your deck anymore. That's why we chose to set up the rules like this. And so far it's working pretty well. There are some high-end rares that are expensive that are good in the format, but a lot of times you will also see that more late-game oriented rares that aren't that interesting for tournament standard tournaments, are interesting here, like Grim Haruspex and what's the abomination? There's this abomination that draws you a card whenever you sacrifice a creature. It's because Nantuko Husk is such a cornerstone of the format, are probably the most played rares in it. Yeah, Temur, Battle Rage and Monastery Swift Spear are the backbone of quite a few aggressive red decks. Both the red-green Landfall deck and the red-blue Prowess deck. So in the meantime, Smothering Abomination, right. So in the meantime, Tom kept his opening 7 and Arthur mulliganed to 6 and got his free mulligan. Free scry, sorry. And we start off with the double Gainland opening, which is so prominent in this format. It's a Seeker of the Way. And Arthur responds with a Silk Wrap. So in this game, Tom will have to be the aggressor because Arthur pretty firmly has inevitability with his deck. Let's move the microphone a little bit. I hope that Tom realizes soon enough that he's the one on the clock.
Thank you for following us.
And that's a Monastery Siege?
Yes.
Ah. Okay.
I'm just gonna check.
Welcome MTG Nuclear. It's great to have somebody interested. At this point, I don't know about anyone playing the Titan.
No, I don't have any traps.
Yeah, it seems like an awesome card, so it should find its way into the format at some point. So, who are you, Bastik?
My turn.
3 colors is pretty hard to do. You'll see that Tom also has some of his slots dedicated to his mana. So he is playing a what's the white blue fetch land? Jeez, my mind is Flooded Strand. And I think no, that's the only one. But he's playing 10 lands that come into play tapped. So. Die chat maximaliseren.
Nee. So Arthur played the Monastery Siege and he chose Khans, so that means that he can draw an extra card and then discard a card at the beginning of his upkeep.
Okay, apparently we have his deck list here, and Tom decided to remove his Flooded Strand for a Sorin Solemn Visitor, so upping his victory conditions. That might actually, like we see here, that might actually prove to be vital, as he will be forced to be a lot more active in this matchup than he would be in others. Sorry for that, I dropped my bottle of water. So thank God the life totals will be rather stable, because adjusting those is a nightmare. I think he silk wrapped the second token. So with the second silk wrap he got rid of the token. You see a couple of Seekers of the Way in his hand. And he develops with a double Seeker and takes up the Sorin. Yeah, it's Tutelage without red. It's a blue-white Tutelage. It's purely as a finisher in his control deck. Usually we see them with red, with like Tormented Voices and Magmatic Insight to supply very quick draw and easy fuel for treasure cruise, but those decks have a lot of less interaction, so I guess Arthur rather plays a control deck with the Tutelage as an inevitable combo. Well, an inevitable win in the end. So, by the way, the players that are in this match, Arthur was one of the finalists in the previous edition of our tournament in September. That was when the Battle for Zendikar block was about to enter Standard. He decided to split the finals with Jelle Gyselinck. I hope we'll get him in the coverage at some time soon as well, because he's playing pretty well and is playing one of the staple decks of the format.
Mm-hmm.
So, Arthur going for a treasure cruise, yeah. So at this point he is going towards milling his opponent out a bit faster. He might also be looking for an additional Tutelage to increase his clock. So what else does he have to draw in his deck? We see the Siege, we see 2 treasure cruises, 3 anticipates, which only draws 1, and 2 enhanced awarenesses. So he's probably relying on the activated ability of the Tutelage quite a bit to actually finish the game. So Tom, I guess, ticking up for extra power and lifelink. Let's see if they can figure out their life totals at this point. Yeah, 1626. Okay, we were right, guys. We're still on top of it. Tom remarking how irrelevant his life total in this matchup is. And he kind of has a point. He will die from library death, since Arthur literally has nothing to deal any damage, I think.
No, doesn't. In his sideboard, he does.
Yeah, he has 4
Arasheen
Arasheen clerics in his sideboard.
Against aggro, probably.
Okay, at this point Tom's clock is faster than Arthur's, but of course Arthur has a full grip of cards to interact. That's the Skyline Cascade makes it that one of his creatures doesn't untap. Yeah, this is a glacial deck. It's really trying to lock down the entire game. And a third Silk Wrap. And in response, an Ulamog's Negator, what's it called again? An Ulamog's Nullifier. And that got countered? Yeah, that got cancelled. He's playing cancel? Yeah, 2 cancels. Okay. Okay, so Tom has his Dragonlord Ojutai. It's the 5/6 flying that has hexproof. It loses the hexproof as soon as it attacks though. And if it deals combat damage to a player, he gets to look at the top 3 cards, pick one of them, put them in their hand, in his hand, and then put the other 2 on the bottom. Now it's a bit hard to see from here just how many cards he has in his library, but I think he's still at a healthy 20 probably. Though whether his clock will be fast enough to deal with that is another case. Makes a vampire with Sorin. (5/4). Did I say it wrong? I thought I said 5/4 for the Dragonlord. Thanks for keeping me honest. Okay, Arthur anticipates. I think the wording on anticipate is says to put it into your hand, which means it doesn't trigger the Sphinx's Tutelage. Also, for those of you that are interested in this kind of content but disgusted by the quality of the screen, we have some good news. We ordered new cameras and they should have been here today, but unfortunately they're a bit stuck in postage with certain events happening close by here that may have delayed orders. So next time we're up, it should be with a lot better screen and even with better lighting. So look forward to that. We are. Yeah, feels bad. I know. It's actually in a depot 20 kilometers from here, but they wouldn't let me go there and pick it up. So.
No.
Okay, that's a stasis snare for the Dragonlord. Yeah, and Tom just has nothing in reply. That's so. Apparently, he plussed the Sorin and attacked for 6 in total.
Having the Sorin instead of the Flooded Strand really is paying off.
Yeah, it's well, not for the life total, but a bit of extra damage is really helping in this race. Let's go see how much is left in his deck. I'll be right back.
Oh, but when you are participating, Bastique, you can still watch the stream because we have them on the screens right now. Maybe you will be even on the coverage.
So I went over to check, and Tom's deck has something between 10 and 15 cards left. So the way, well, we have a second Tutelage, but no mana to activate the ability. Also with the 4 mana, if he had the Treasure Cruise in this position, it would already been the game probably. But with 4 mana he can't even cast the Heightened Awareness, the Enhanced Awareness. We have a Thunderclap Wyvern. The vampire has flying, I believe, right? The Sorin vampire?
Yeah, and lifelink, I think. I'm not sure though.
Okay, 14 viewers and counting. Let's see if we can break last time's record. Last record was 23, so if you have any mobile devices that you can also log in with, that would be great. Is there anything else interesting going on? There's only boring magic stuff going on, so stick around with us, will be the most interesting thing today. So, in the meantime, a second stasis snare took care of a second stasis there took care of the, what's it, the Thunderclap Wyvern?
Yes.
So Arthur at the point where he's counting out, it looked like about 7 cards. So if he activates the draw and discard ability on the Tutelage and hits one of them, he probably mills out Tom. If he doesn't, he's pretty much just dead. I see the removal spell that the Awaken Wrath of God, the Planar Outburst in Arthur's hand, so that could buy him some time, but Tom has some flash creatures he can put into play. So let's see what Arthur does here. So yeah, what Arthur probably is doing here is trying to deduct about what's left in his deck to see if he can get the double hit of the Sphinx's Tutelage. There are quite a bit of multicolored cards in Tom's deck, which don't really help in this regard. So we have the Nullifiers and the Thunderclap Wyverns, and a lot of white cards we still haven't seen. Arthur was still resolving the Monastery Siege's ability even, and he chose to discard the Planar Outburst. So that plan goes out the door. Oh, and he had a Heightened Awareness. Okay, that's Enhanced Awareness. Okay. And that mills out his Tom's entire deck. So in the last possible turn, Arthur gets rid of Tom's deck and wins the first game of the match. Okay, let's adjust the life totals again. But because they're in screen, you guys should be okay. Ah yeah, he also had Blighted Cataract. Yeah. It's not a fun way to lose the game, that's true, but in the end it's a way to play Magic, and this event is more about showing the competitive side of the game than actually having fun, which sounds a bit awkward, but of course playing competitive is fun, but this tournament is for winning out, and this tournament is for showing what you can do, because the payout is extremely top heavy here. Only the top 8 will go home with prizes. In fact, the winner gets a number of boosters equal to the number of contestants in this event, which for now is 26. So if you win this event, which will be 5 rounds and a top 8, you'll get 26 boosters, and then every tier below that in the top 8 will get 2/3 of that. So that'll be 17 for second, 11 boosters for third and fourth, and 7 boosters for 5 to 8, which for a €10 event I hope is something that people appreciate. Okay, so let's see what these players have in their sideboards. For Tom, standing out very much is the first is a Philidar Cup. It's the 2/2 for 2 that he can sacrifice to destroy an enchantment, but also 2 duresses and 2 negates to get rid of the tutelage in his hand or as he plays it, and perhaps even the disdainful stroke and the dispel to counter some of the card draw spells. The dispel will probably come into play because he'll anticipate a lot of counter spells coming from Arthur as well, who has 4 dispels to bring in 2 negates, 1 cancel, 2 treasure cruises, which against Tom's slower deck may be interesting. But also has 2 cranial archives to make the mill plan faster. I made a mistake. I thought the Cranial Archive did something else. We just looked it up. It's more an anti-mill strategy, so that'll stay in the sideboard probably.
Yeah, probably against the mirror match.
Yeah. So for the next round we'll try to make a little metagame analysis of what is played in this event, so you guys have an idea of what you can expect when people bring their best decks.
So we're heading, for people who are just getting into the stream, we are heading for game 2, which Arthur won the first one. Arthur is playing the Sphinx Tutelage deck, whereas Tom is playing an Esper Midrange deck.
Okay, so we see that Tom has finished sideboarding. Let's make the camera a little bit louder. If the background noise is too loud, just let us know in the chat, okay? Okay, both players are shuffled up and ready to go. Let's hope that both players get 7 cards. Also remember that Arthur actually won game 1 with a mulligan to 6. So. And I believe he was on the draw. Yeah. And we're off to the races. Tom opens with an Evolving Wilds, Arthur as well. So those are the backbones really of this format, is Evolving Wilds and the gain lands that comes into the battlefield tapped lands that comes into play tapped battle into the lands that come into the battlefield tapped and gain 1 life. See, I can do it.
Good for you.
So there we have one of those. Okay, so let's see how different game 2 will be. I expected with the number of counter spells that got added into the decks probably that these games will be quite a bit slower. Tom will be on the initiative, as we see here with the Seeker of the Way, to make sure that he can get damage in as soon as possible and maybe even force out a few counter spells already, so that when push comes to shove and he needs to stop a Sphinx's Tutelage, that he has the equipment for it. Now Arthur Arthur chooses to Stasis Snare instead of playing the Sphinx's Tutelage, so he probably suspects that Tom has an answer for it. Tom is a big fan of our life total thingies. Yeah, the dual lands from Oath of the Gatewatch on uncommon were a very bad sign, but we have the common in Shadows over Innistrad that comes into play untapped, can tap for colorless mana, and has 2 mana tap, look for a basic land. So hopefully that'll make 2 color decks at least still viable, and 2 color plus uncommon a very good choice for the next format. But yeah, dedicating uncommon slots to your mana base just feels bad, man.
Even though this format, the Gentry or the League Standard, really shows the creativity of our players in deck building, that makes it really, really nice to see how powerful some decks are. Even though they're playing some mana in the uncommon slots, there's still pretty powerful commons out there. So really took me by surprise the first time I played.
Yeah,
I played against an Nantuko Husk deck. Oh my god, I was really blown away.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive what some players can do with the restrictions they have. So Arthur now playing his Tutelage with counter mana backup. Now the funny thing is that that's a spell shrivel. The backup he has is negate and then dispel, like we said earlier. So the first counter war goes in favor of Tom. So what I was about to say actually, Tom Vandevelde is pretty much our in-house Patrick Shapen. He's the innovator for our format. He regularly makes articles on our website as well. It's awesome to see a decent player investing so much time and effort into this format. And see what he can come up with. So far he's the one who developed Nantuko Husk decks to the point they are now, and now he's here with this Esper Good Stuff deck that's looking like it has a very diverse game, so it's very adaptable. Yes, even budget formats have counter battles. So if you're new to this stream or new to this format, as you can see in the bottom right now, this is a Gentry Standard tournament. It's a budget version of Standard that allows 15 uncommons and 4 rares and or mythics that have to be uniquely individual. It's a pretty cool and pretty diverse format, and it's fun. It really is just fun. Yeah, if you play Gentry, you should have been here, goddammit. Okay, so Tom finally got on the board with some damage and got his token Freeblade Renowned. But this slow and methodical development is hugely in favor of Arthur. So let's see if he can capitalize on that. He's at this point probably sculpting a hand again that can forced through Sphinx's tutelage. I think that by now Tom realizes that the tutelages are the only threats that Arthur really has, so if he can just keep those off the table, or off the table for too long, that he can actually win them. So who's Draigi? I'm not familiar with all your fancy names. So we have a Thunderclap Wyvern entering the fray. I believe this was at the end of Arthur's turn. And Arthur responds with an enhanced awareness. So it's a bit double for him. On one hand, he gets to resolve the spell while Tom is tapped out. Yeah, that was at the end of his spell. But now, this is a spell you usually want to cast while you have the tutelage in play, as a bunch of triggers. And he just partially lost that. But I assume he has the extra treasure cruises in his main deck right now. So probably he'll be able to compensate through that. And here we have Sorin again. So again, Tom trying to get on the offensive as fast as possible. He looks a lot healthier than he looked last game. Still has plenty of his deck left. And he comes in with both of them. So, oh, no. So, 6 damage, gaining a bunch of life. So at this point, Arthur's on a 2-turn clock. If he can do anything to the cards on the board, I would be surprised if that were the case, but still, he's under quite a lot of pressure here.
It's gonna treasure cruise, I think.
Yeah. So treasure cruise. He's really digging for those tutelages, or of course just something to solve the board. Yeah, he really needs. I think does Stasis Snare only hits creatures, or?
Yeah, only creatures.
So his answers to Sorin are pretty limited then. He has suppression bonds.
Maybe check for the Stasis Snare.
Yeah.
Oh, oops.
Okay, so we have a Silk Wrap to answer the token. That doubles the clock for Arthur. And the suppression bonds on the Sorin, that already happened. Yeah. Yes, there was a counter on the token free blade. He got it renowned on, I think, turn 3.
Yeah, Stasis Snare only targets creatures.
Yeah. So Arthur still has 5 turns to dig himself out of this. We've eaten up quite a bit of the round already at this point, and seeing how seeing how slow these matches are developing, it could be that if it goes to a third game that it never finishes. Okay, so the second tutelage. Remember, the first one got countered on turn 5, which feels like 20 turns ago at this point. And a pacifism to take care of the last threat. So, after looking at a pretty horrible board for a while, Arthur is now looking at relative safety. Actually, he has 10 life, his victory condition in play, and now he can start just playing draw spells. Tom reloads with double Token Freeblade, and I think I saw 2 Seeker of the Ways in his hand still.
I saw
so
one.
Even if Arthur has one of his 2 sweepers, that's an end of turn anticipate. Yes, I think Tom would love some erases as well. I think Arthur is holding double Gideon's Reproach, so he has an answer for the 2 tokens.
Also double triggers from the 2 tutelages.
So we have 9 minutes left in the round. The feature match has 2 minutes extra though, so they still have 11 minutes left in their round.
I didn't see him side it in, but I think he probably did. And the Felidar Cup says, indeed, if you sacrifice it, you may...
Yeah, the Felidar Cups are
destroy.
definitely in the deck. So he spell shrivels one of the reproaches, and the other one comes through. Arthur dropping to 8, and the Token Freeblade getting his +1/+1 renowned counter. So it's a 3-turn clock at this point. So Arthur at this point needs some way of accelerating. Tom played a Seeker of the Way, so he's back to a 2-turn clock for Arthur. That's another Stasis Snare. Usually you use removal to clear the board, but this is just filling it even more. And the Suppression Bond on the Seeker of the Way. So again, Tom completely defanged, but he has some friends in his hands, I see. And Arthur is tapped out at this point. So he's holding Gideon, the ally version. So he can make a token now turn into 5/5 next turn, and then attack for 7, which means it's just under a 2-turn clock again.
Gideon is a real threat for Arthur's deck.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with. He only has the suppression bonds to solve it.
Maybe Stasis... Does Stasis Snare have flash? I don't know. I don't think so. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So the Stasis Snare, if he
He can
animates,
exile it.
yeah, he can exile it.
So how many Stasis Snares are in play at this point? I see 2. Also, we milled one of the Felidar Cups, which is quite relevant.
He only has 3 in his main board and none in sideboard, so maybe
Yeah.
he still has 1, I don't know.
It's not the type of card you board out.
No, especially if you see Planewalkers.
Why doesn't Arthur play a Blessed Spirit? Well, the thing is,
That's another deck.
By playing no creatures at all, you blank all the removal that your opponent has. If you put just a few creatures in this deck, it just turns on the removal your opponent has. Now, something fun that you could do is put them in the sideboard, and then when they board out all of their removal, just put them in.
There actually is a Gentry deck with Blessed Spirits with enchantments. I believe Ruud is playing it, I don't know.
Yeah, black-white enchantments.
Yes. It's also a really cool deck.
I think we have a Ruud on a covered match already, so in between rounds maybe we will put that on at some point. So, 23 viewers, we broke our record. Welcome, guys. Or girls and girls. Ruud probably is playing his black-white enchantments deck, yes. But we'll see, maybe we'll get him in coverage and he'll surprise us. So, Arthur firmly in control. Oh, gaining 1 life could actually be relevant, since a lot of Tom's creatures have 2 power. Like the initial hit from the token, the tokens that Gideon makes. So he doesn't leave open mana for the Stasis Snare with this, which means that Tom Vandevelde has a free attack with his Gideon. And we already saw in his hand that he's holding the Ulamog's Nullifier, so he has a flash creature to put on the board. And passes the turn with a lot of mana open. So you can already see by how crisp and quick Tom suddenly is playing that he thinks he has it in the bag. I see over 15 cards still in his library. So Tom almost certain to win at this point, but of course we still need to finish the match. But on the other hand, with the double trigger for the tutelage, I've seen some pretty strange things happen already, where 1 activation eats up 8 cards. So you never know. Yeah. And Arthur is going for the desperation attempt. And it completely fails. I think Arthur, Arthur scoops him up. So 1-1. And just a few minutes left in the round. Just gonna check and let the players know how much time they have. Okay, so they at this point have 4.5 minutes left on their clock. I'm afraid this match will be over. Watch out, the Lady Planeswalker Society is watching. Yes, we have to be nice and respect each other, but we should do that even when they're not
Always.
around. So
You should do that always. So it's a really nice matchup. Arthur and Tom are both very good players, so really nice to see them have such good decks that have a good matchup against each other.
yeah, they also know each other.
Yeah.
And they're in Team Wrecking Ball together, so they probably tested these decks together and against each other.
Mother help me.
3 minutes left in the round.
Nobody.
And the game has started.
Okay, so both players kept their opening 7, and we start off with a little life gain burst from both sides. So surprising. It's like the reverse of regular standard, where you go
Yeah.
fetch land turn 1.
With the Fater Forge pre-release, it was like everywhere on every table. Play this land, I gain 1 life. I gain 1 life. I gain 1 life. It was really funny.
Okay, Tom anticipating, Arthur not caring about it. And 3 mana up. So this is Tom not playing something on turn 2 or 3, which I think he needs if we are going to see an end to this match. I see the Wingmate Rock in his hand though, and hopefully he has one of his flash flyers so he can activate the raid. We're experiencing some difficulty with our camera here. Okay. So we don't have a... Yes, it's a Wingmate Rock in Tom's hand. At this point we don't have any visual as well. Oh, this is horrible. Yeah, there's not much we can do here. So what happened is a outpost siege got countered by a cancel, and okay, looks like we're back online. Natalie, we're back online. Sorry for that, I have no idea what just happened. But Tom did manage to get its Wingmate Rock raided. We have 2 minutes on the clock starting for them now.
So it's probably back on counts. Do you want me to check?
What?
Do you want me to check for the...
It will be on counts.
Probably...
Yeah. Okay, and we have the removal. So the Wingmate Rock has been completely taken care of. And Tom reloads with a token. And Arthur gets his tutelage countered by Spell Shrivel. That should be exiled. Yeah, because that's pretty relevant for Tom's deck. And the Stasis Snare takes out the token Free Blade. Looks like both these players are really trying to finish this match.
Yeah, they're really playing fast.
So that's the discard for the monastery siege.
And the treasure coin.
So Arthur digging for answers here. I see I think it's a Gideon's Reproach in his hand. Time in the round for the coverage. So we're on extra turn 1 now.
Come on, Dokken. Governors mag weten dat ik graag een draw heb in de fiction match.
Waarom?
Omdat dat positief is voor de andere spelers, zo die X0 staan.
Okay, we have Jelle Gyselinck here, the other finalist of the last event, who is already looking forward to proving his mettle once again. And again, we're having issues with the camera. For some reason, we're using a remote desktop service here, and from time to time the connection seems to muck up. So in between rounds we're gonna try to fix this. But it's very temporary every time, so yeah, see, that's already gone again. So we're gonna try and fix this, maybe make sure that the other computer is on a better connection. So at this point the Dragon Lord is Tom's only out to still win this game, but the Gideon's Reproach is a perfect answer. Does Tom have counters? Well, no, he doesn't, and it is a draw. Okay, so first match is a draw. We'll be back in a few moments. In the meantime, please enjoy some coverage from an earlier event.
Oh, put that from Root, the enchantment deck.
Yeah, we can put up Ruud with his enchantments. There you go, people. We'll be back soon.
But then Zendikar came around.
The next round would start at around 22:10 CET.
Well, Bastiaan, I will tell Root. I think he will be very pleased to see that.
Okay, so we're back for round 2. Our next feature match is Jelle Gyselinck versus Ian Ide. Ian is the leader in our internal leaderboard, and Jelle is a finalist from the last round. But we're gonna adjust the image for a second.
Het probleem is dat mijn sleeves nodig had voor mijn plint en play versie van ja? Ik weet nooit op voorhand of dat mensen het wijs gaan vinden, maar ik vind het echt een zalig spel.
Dat waar we nu nog zitten. Waarom niet?
Ja, maar dat is gewoon, dat is echt niet meer discussiëren. Hij zou echt zot worden. Maar echt, het is zo hard.
Maar we worden nu wat.
Ik wil u zelfs niet proberen overtuigen om het te spelen.
Dat is saai.
Nee, het is niet saai.
Ik tegen Enzo.
We zijn discussiëren over het feit
Nu wil ik toch niet leuk vinden. Maar ik weet echt niet leuk. Ik vind het al niet leuk als ik kan discussiëren over discussiëren.
maar voor mij is dat het best. Dat is mijn life. Ik doe niets anders. Iedereen waar dat ik vaak discussies mee heb, ik zo.
Alright, so off to the races. This time Sander will be joining me.
Hello!
For coverage. Let's get the deck lists out here so we know what our players will be doing. It's pretty much that. They knocked against the camera. I still don't like what it looks like, but for this round it'll have to do.
Cheap as fuck.
So we're currently the 9th most popular stream on Twitch for Magic the Gathering. Let's see if we can get that higher. Okay, guys. So share on your Facebook, tweet away, make it popular. Okay, so for Ian, we have his, I assume his trusted 3-color
Sultai Husk.
Sultai Husk deck, yes. And Jelle is playing blue-red Prowess, I
Yes.
think? Yeah, blue-red Prowess. So, again, Jelle was one of the finalists of the previous edition of this tournament. That's 6 months ago. And Ian is the leader in our leaderboard, and he started this event with 1 free buy.
As opposed to those other players who were paying for their buys.
Okay, you'll already notice that this round will be a lot more humorous than the previous one, since we have that humor specialist Sander with us here.
Ja, maar ik heb altijd gehoord
Yay. An expert in defeating Ian's deck. That's who I am.
Yeah, Ian had a bit of a weird run with his deck. He was very hard to beat in the first couple of weeks of the leaderboard.
Yep.
And then I think his last event he went 1-3.
Yes.
And then in our last testing event he went 1-3 again, or even 0-4.
I think he won 1-3.
Yeah.
He won against Anouk in the last round.
All right, so we're off to the races. Jelle Mulligan, I think. 2-5.
But still opening with the Swift Spear on 1.
And still with a perfect hand, yes.
What else do I see there? Yeah. Swift Spear on 1, Storm Chaser Mage on 2. Very good opening.
Perfect curve so far. Again, we see Ian with a 3-color deck devoting some of his uncommon slots to his mana base. and the 3-drop, which is so essential. So best drop here would probably be a Catacomb Sifter.
Probably.
Yeah, you don't really want to drop an Antuco Husk on an empty board.
No. A Sky
a
Spawner
Sky
is good as well.
Spawner.
Well, doesn't kill the Storm Chaser Mage.
No.
Doesn't kill a Prowess.
Yeah. Well, the Catacomb Sifter doesn't either, but at least that one survives the attack.
Yeah.
We see in Jelle's hand.
I think it's a Magmatic Insight.
Insight. Yeah. Treasure Cruise and an Expedite.
And another Swift Spear
Yeah.
gets added from the inside.
But I don't think he has a land.
Costly Magmatic Insight then.
So Jelle attacking for another 2. No, for 4.
Should be 4. Yeah.
Actually, since the players are keeping up with our life totals pretty well, let's just make sure I don't put the wrong stuff here.
Fair enough. Just have the little papers do their job. It's not looking very good for Ian.
Well, yes and no. Ian is currently on the back pedal, but don't forget he's up 2 cards still.
Yeah.
And
you expect still 2 cards, but Jelle has the Treasure Cruise and the Expedite.
Yeah, but he's very, very far from casting a Treasure Cruise.
Land, Expedite, Slip Through Space, and the graveyard's almost already full enough for the Treasure Cruise next turn.
That sounds enthusiastic.
I'm a big fan of the deck.
Perfect.
I'm a big fan of the Euro Prowess deck. I may overestimate it sometimes. Missing the land drop is hard though.
Yeah.
I should probably Expedite to get the land.
I think that's Jelle's plan as well. But keeping his mana open for the Brute Strength could also help. Attacks only with the Storm Chaser Mage.
Yeah. Just sending him down to 13. Trying for a slower game, maybe?
Yeah.
Trying to commit some more creatures to the board since they're unlikely to die against the Husk deck. From mass removal, that is.
I think Ian, is he playing the dragons?
I think he's playing a Silumgar. No. His rares are, I think, Obnixilis, Liliana.
Ruthless Deathfang.
Oh, the
So
Deathfang, yeah.
He has
a single one.
A single Ruthless Deathfang.
That could prove very troublesome.
Double Zulaport Cutthroat. That can change the clock quite a bit.
That could,
as well.
yeah. That turns his game around. Jelle gaining a life from a land there. Not quite the land you want to see when you're this behind on lands.
No. It's something we saw a lot when we were doing some of the deck techs, is people choosing to drop down the number of lands that come into play tapped, just for this reason, because they want to give up any tempo. Some decks going down to 5 of the possible 8 that are almost obvious.
Yeah. This would be the third round.
Third round.
This is round 3.
Ah, we're already in round 3.
We're in round 2 of coverage, but round 3 of the tournament.
Correct. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it does.
So what we'll see what we can do with the coverage is we'll suggest to the players if they are okay with splitting up the semifinals, so we can give you both the complete semifinals. Of course, if players would rather go home somewhat earlier, that won't be the case. So we'll see about that in the top 8.
It will all depend on the heart of the players. and their time schedules. There's always fun in the league. That's true. That's what we aim to do. Not just in Magic either. You were not here on Thursday. Well, you weren't at the bar on Thursday.
I wasn't in the bar, no.
Okay, so...
Okay, back to the game,
yeah,
exactly.
Jelle's still in the tank after that expedite, I think. Or is it Ian who is having priority at the moment?
I think we're in Ian's turn. Yeah.
Okay.
Since Jelle's creature's already tapped.
Yeah. Ian's deck doesn't have a lot of lines of play.
Yeah, the Nantuko deck has a quite wide decision tree. Now most players limit themselves to 2 colors, so we're used to seeing the black-blue Nantuko decks and black-green Nantuko decks, or if you're
and
crazy,
there's the namesake.
Yeah. Or if you're crazy like me, the black-white ones. But Ian choosing to go 3 color, even though a lot of players have tried to talk him out of it, he has the results to show for it.
Yeah, so. Exactly, and I totally understand why you'd want to play that, because Sky Spawner is great, Catacomb Sifter is great, so why not play all 3 colors that allow you to play these 3?
Yeah. And the first mythic hits the board.
It's a Liliana Heretical Healer. And an easy flip, should you want to, because there's still a Scion on board. No, wait. Liliana is non-token creature?
I think it's non-token creature.
Okay, so still an easy flip with a Nantuko Husk, allowing him to basically sack anything he wants.
You know, that's a number. Well, yes. I'm not sure. There's a lot of mana there.
Yeah, it's a non-token creature.
Yeah. In the meantime, Ian attacked into the board and sacrifices through the Zulaport Cutthroat proven to be lethal. So we're 1-0 up for Ian.
After being on the back foot in the first 2 turns, and Jelle not really hitting.
Yes, the back foot is easy to say, but that's also what the makeup of the deck is.
Yeah,
this deck,
that's true.
What does this deck on turn 2? It plays a 1-1.
Yeah.
And that's your best
turns
case
into a 2-2.
That's your best case scenario. So Sultai Emissary is your best 2-drop. And your deck only starts to get going on turn 3, turn 4. So
but still, if Jelle had the 7-card hand...
If Jelle had a 7-card hand and threw into his mana earlier...
Swift Spear Stormchaser Mage is a very strong opening.
Yes.
That I think Ian's deck could have a lot of trouble competing with if it works the way it should, the Prowess deck.
Is that your favorite opening?
For the deck? I don't know, I didn't play the deck. Take that, our blue. So story time. Why is the blue in Magic described with the U, Niels?
Because black is already a B.
Yeah, okay. And why isn't black A? Or
because it's
some other
blue.
letter?
It's easier. I don't know. I never thought about it. Are we gonna learn something?
Yes. Mark Rosewater actually gave the explanation. I think it was Mark Rosewater on one of his Tumblr posts. Black and blue both start with B. Their second letter is both L, which can be used because it's for lands. And then you've got A for black or U for blue. And A already stood for artifacts. So blue got U.
Blue got me?
Yes.
Cool.
You are blue. Dabba-dee-dabba-da.
Okay then. So this is how we fill the time in sideboarding. Let's have a look what these players have to sideboard.
Yes.
Actually. So I have Jelle's deck here. We have 4 Boiling Earths, which will be a nightmare. to deal with because it kills
Yes.
all the Scions and the Zulaport
And the
Cutthroats.
But the problem is it does trigger still on the Cutthroat.
Yeah,
So it's not a clean fix.
yeah. We also have Boulder Salvo, which
I
is
highly doubt
less
Boulder Salvo
relevant.
is coming in.
3 Fiery Impulse,
Fiery
which
Impulse
is
might be
most
relevant.
likely coming
Yeah.
in. Dispel Negate and Disdainful Strokes are a lot less interesting.
The dispels are possible because Ian is also playing blue, so Jelle could be expecting some dispels from Ian. So
Yeah.
he might bring in some dispels of his own
Sure.
to win potential counter wars.
Disdainful Stroke, he has pretty much no targets except a rare here and there.
The Disdainful targets are Nixilis, Reignited, and Treasure Cruise, and the Ruthless Deathfang. And the 4 Whirler Rogues. Does hit the Whirler Rogue.
Yeah, Whirler Rogue, extremely relevant card there. So
Yeah, I think in Gentry Standard, if you're playing a blue deck and it's anything mid-rangey, you always want to play Whirler Rogue.
yeah, it's
The card is just too much value.
it's a staple at this point, and it's also one of the cards that's on the watch list for possibly being too good at this point. So it's not. Not a surprise to see
Treasure
people
Cruise has been on the list for a while and it never got banned. So
Treasure Cruise.
it was never OP. It was never too good for the format.
We're talking about a Whirler Rogue.
No, I think it was this spell. Which spell? This spell. I think it's a joke. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Which spell?
Are you
This spell.
Are you a father? Ugin's room.
This is basically my account. It's my AI.
I'm surrounded by trolls.
Ian's sideboard has access to Caustic Caterpillars, which is the enchantment removing.
It's
Yeah.
the Naturalize on a stick.
Yeah, not coming in against the Prowess deck.
Butcher's Glee is
Butcher's
actually
Glee, is that
interesting.
the black one that +1/+0 lifelink regenerates?
+3,
Possibly.
+3 +0 and lifelink, I think.
And lifelink, yeah. I was confusing it with a +1/+0 regenerate.
Let's check real quick.
Yeah, that's +3/+0 and lifelink. And regenerate.
Yeah. So that looks like it would be very relevant. Aerial Volley as an answer to the Storm Chaser mages.
I don't think it's actually good enough to stop the Storm Chaser mage since it only deals 3 damage to 2 flyers.
Yeah.
And a single Prowess trigger saves the Storm Chaser mage.
Yeah. So the next card is a
Reef
lot
Soul-
better in
Reef
the
Soul
matchup.
is very, very relevant, I think.
I think that's the best card you can bring in against
Probably,
this deck. It
probably.
hits all of their creatures and it
The
hits them
spell
on turn
also.
2. Yes.
The dispel, there is a single dispel in the sideboard. I'm 99% sure that's coming in.
Okay, in the meantime, our players have started, and Ian got his Dream 1/1 on turn 2.
The value turn 2 plays.
And
Sultai Emissary.
I'm not sure why Jelle has nothing at this point.
Is it just 2 months and an island?
I don't know what he played already. Is that a Evolving Wilds?
I see an Evolving Wilds, an island, and a Magmatic Insight probably.
Ah, that's possible. Yeah.
That makes most sense. It would be a
Makes
Magmatic
most
Insight.
sense, yeah.
But the card between his mountains does not look like a land. But oh yeah, it's an
Yeah,
island.
an island.
It looked so bright. But okay, so Jelle just on lands here.
This looks very bad
Yeah.
for the Prowess deck. To the point where I'm wondering why Jelle chose to keep this hand even.
It might have been on mulligans. Doesn't seem to have a whole lot of cards in hand anymore.
Did anyone viewing see whether these player mulliganed? It went pretty quick, so we missed it while we were discussing the sideboards. So put it in chat if you know what starting hands these players are on. Yeah, in the meantime, Ian is developing pretty much dreamlike at this point. The Sultai Emissary into Nantuko Husk, into pretty much whatever you can follow up at that
The
point.
Cutthroat is probably one of the best things you could find there.
I would have liked the
Whirler
Catacomb
Rogue
Sifter.
or a Catacomb Sifter,
because he doesn't have access to the 4th mana.
Yeah.
It's an Evolving Wilds.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, Whirling Rogue would have been the perfect 4-drop to... excuse me, top that curve.
So Jelle 5th land, going for the treasure cruise. I'm wondering what sequence of cards could get Jelle out of this. I'll have to start with a creature, that's for sure. But still only next
preferably
turn.
multiple ones.
Yeah.
The thing with this deck is pretty much every deck that plays the Swift Spear is that they're playing Timur Battle Rage.
Yes, Timur Battle Rage is the way to win here now.
I mean, Storm Chaser Mage into Pump Spell, Timur Battle Rage is for
Could
18
sometimes,
damage? 20 even?
It could be for 20, I think.
One,
With if the pump spells are Titan Strength.
5, 9. Yeah, that's for 20 damage.
Yeah. But that is still 5 cards. 4 cards he needs.
Well, he has a lot of cards.
I know, he has a lot of cards, and with one more land, he actually has the mana to do it in a single turn. And Yin, I think, has only access to some Bone Splinters.
He has Murderous Cut as well, no? Reef Soul.
I don't think
Bone
there are murderous
Splinters.
cuts. No murderous cuts.
So Ian doesn't have any instant speed removal. He's
No.
completely dead to
That means-
an
yeah.
attack, a
An
haste
attack with a
attack.
combo with and no blocks could prove very lethal.
Yeah.
Of course,
Except he has
He
2
has
Zulaport
two
Cutthroats.
cutthroats and a husk, which means he can gain some instant speed life.
Yeah, it's a 6-point life swing waiting on board. Minimum.
Potential.
So I see a Fiery Impulse. The Storm
The
Chaser
Storm Chaser Mage is there. That could be the start of Jelle's path to victory here. Plus a Swift Spear.
Yeah.
That's not gonna get blocked.
Well, it is gonna get blocked by the Zulaport if it gets scary.
Yeah.
Oh,
If it gets scary, but
that's 1 damage to all creatures.
the Boiling Earth dealing 1 damage to all creatures would kill everything but the husk.
Yeah.
So Ian probably just gonna sack everything to the husk. Or he actually gets one more trigger out of the cutthroat if he doesn't sack them himself. So that might be the better play here. We'll see what he went for once the life tools are updated. Yeah, he just allowed it to resolve. Probably the better line here.
Yeah, and he still gets a
Still gets the
blocker.
manifest. But I don't see the reason why the Swift Spear would be blocked here. I think you'd rather just keep the manifest. Well, I mean, you would if the husk wasn't.
So who's he targeting?
I think he's targeting the husk.
It only has 1 activation because he let it resolve.
Yeah,
He let it resolve, so it's a
he let the
4/4.
Boiling Earth resolve, so now he can. So husk was a 2/2 still, and now he can sack the manifest and make it a 4/4. But the impulse is still going to do 3 damage and kill it because of the Boiling Earth. So he should have probably sacked the emissary to the husk in response to the Boiling Earth, and then just allowed the cutthroats to die to the Boiling Earth.
Yeah. So, Yellow on board dealing relevant damage. 6 damage and clearing the entire board.
This I was asking what Jelle needed to still have a chance at winning here, and this looks like a good start. Now, is that correct that Jelle's life is at 6?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Alright, there's a Reef Soul for the Storm Chaser Mage. That's gonna put a stop to Jelle's immediate victory here.
The Evolving Wilds, by the way, only was there for 1, so he was waiting until the end of turn, which
Yeah.
is pretty irrelevant, but
But still something players do for some reason.
Yeah.
Alright, so there's the
so Jelle at this point also filling his graveyard because he has a second
Treasure Cruise in
Treasure
hand.
Cruise waiting in the...
And I think that's also 2 Battle Rages. So, cruising for 1 blue.
So at this point it has 6 power.
Wait,
He already played
yeah, the Titan Strength. So yeah, it's 6 power.
6 power.
with-
He can go to 10 with another Titan Strength and then double strike for the kill.
Yeah, but he didn't see one. He's just another Storm Chaser and a cruise. So probably gonna go
Yeah, there's a-
Storm Chaser.
He has the Battle Rage in hand.
I know he has 2 of them. So he can turn the 6 power creature to a 7 power creature with double strike, dealing 16 damage here. If he
And
sequences
then
is
another
correct.
2 from
Yeah,
the,
it was already. No, I already calculated the 2
Okay.
from the Storm Chaser.
yeah.
So Ian going to 4 here.
This is a pretty crazy development.
Yeah.
Wow.
Completely surprised at how Jelle managed to come back here. Yeah, it's 4, not 14. Something must have gone wrong over at the feature match table. But
Ian, what is your life total?
yeah, now it's correct.
Okay, that's better.
All right.
So,
So here's a Whirler Rogue.
which?
After a refill on the Storm Chaser Mage, which is also very important.
Yeah.
So now he has blockers that can jump away the
Yeah.
Storm Chaser should it come down.
Yeah, except if Jelle has a bump spell, then
It's still game over. But that Ian doesn't know that, of course. But there is still the other Battle Rage in Jelle's hand, which if it's a 4-power creature, it'll give trample, and the Prowess trigger for the Battle Rage is actually gonna give it +1, so he needs either 1 Titan Strength or 2 other triggers. And there's a Treasure Cruise and a Magnetic Insight, so those are 2 triggers.
yeah. So
And he has the
al-
mana. Yeah, this should be
he's
game.
on a 3rd trigger already.
So then the Battle Rage should be game, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Ian stepped out.
Yep.
Even if he throws
he's
everything
attacking.
in front of
Is
it.
he letting him block with a single one, and there's the Battle Rage.
Okay. And they
And
go
we're off to
to
game 2.
Permanently control one opponent.
So Ian, even after getting a great turn 1, great turn 2, 3, and 4, getting completely blown out by Jelle's Boiling Earth, destroying his board.
It's one thing you have to say about the blue-red Prowess deck. It's an incredibly aggressive deck
Yeah.
in the first 3 turns.
Yeah.
But what we saw now is how it has the capability to just go like, okay, sure, I won't do anything the first 5 turns, and then I'm gonna go
Hit
ape
you,
shit crazy.
yeah, hit you
on
for 16
out
off of an
no-
empty board.
Off an empty board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a strong deck to have. So apparently Jelle is handicapping him for game 3, just putting himself on
Yeah.
6.
It's an interesting move, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out. I don't think any new sideboarding went on,
No, they didn't sideboard.
which is interesting because I think the blue-red Prowess deck probably wants to change some things when it's going from play to draw.
Okay, so people, if you're new in this stream, you have no idea what's going on. Like it says in the scroll bar on the bottom of the screen, this is a Gentry Standard tournament. It's a budget version of Standard where you're allowed to play maximum 15 uncommons and 4 uniquely individual rares and or mythics. It's a pretty interesting format, a lot more interesting than a lot of people expected, and it's pretty diverse. We have a lot of decks in the meta game, and it's just loads of fun to play. So check the website if you want to know more about it, and just build a couple of decks, sit some friends down at the table, and try it out. It's really cool.
Your power is fading.
Alright, so here they go. Both players mulliganing. Going to 6 no longer a problem with the Vancouver mulligan here.
It makes it a lot less painful. To say it's less, it's not a problem.
It's-
Als je wilt, ja.
Als je van de tent afblijft. Van de tent. So, the amount of times I mulligan to 6 has really increased by a big percentage, just because of the fact that I can have that scry, especially on the draw. That's a very relevant statistic.
It's always funny to see people who are on the play do their scry and then
play
fetch-
Evolving Wilds or a
play
fetch, yeah.
land. Like,
But
well,
with a-
that's interesting.
With a fetch land, it's fine because you can still have it enter untapped, so you can still wait for the draw for your scry if it's good enough. But in Gentry, when you have evolving wilds and you have to fetch it turn 1 because you want the mana available turn 2, sometimes the scry becomes painful.
Pretty much. Ik word tegen kans.
Ik heb 6 damage in flyers en hij had 4.
Alright, so both players looking at their hand of 6. Both deciding to keep.
Alright, and we're...
Your mother was a
What is that? Okay. We saw a card. Shuffle. Okay, so... Alright, so Ian accidentally saw the top card of his deck when he wanted to scry. This is just a warning for looking at extra cards. And we shuffled a random part of the deck. So we're keeping the scryed down card on the bottom because he has that information and we want to preserve it. And we're off to the races. Ian dropping the gain land and Jelle answering with it as well. Now we have an assistant on the floor to help with the life totals.
Deze is basically gewoon een game waarin we hebben gesproken.
And Ian following it up with an evolving wilds. So like we said, pretty much the only thing he has on turn 2 is the
Sultai Emissary?
The Sultai Emissary, because you also have the Zulaport Cutthroat, but you really don't want to play that on an empty board.
No, absolutely not.
Jelle answers with the Elusive Spellfist.
The one of Vampiric Rites would be a good turn 2 play. It's also a good turn 1 play, for that matter. And those are the 2 drops, or 1 drops. Sometimes the Caustic Caterpillar comes in, which can come down on turn 2.
No, but this is not this is not
Not
a
relevant for this
Caterpillar
match.
matchup. No.
No. Well, you could think so. If you see red-blue, you might be thinking about.
It's like, oh no, he has Tutelage.
Yeah.
Yes, this deck looks like it might have Tutelage. You know. Actually, I've been
It draws a lot of cards.
I've been thinking about making this deck, but making a transformational sideboard.
The Tutelage.
Just 15 creature sideboard, bam!
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Yeah, I think it's actually possible because a lot of the Prowess cards like Slip Through Space and Expedite draw cards, you're playing Treasure Cruise, you're already playing the Magmatic Insights.
Yeah, and the Treasure Cruises.
And the Treasure Cruises, obviously. Of course, you're losing the Treasure Cruises very soon. You could just...
We can still dream.
That's true, that's true. You can still try the... if you want to go for the transformational sideboard, you can just add the...
Oh, this is the... what's it called? Scapclan
The Spellfist.
Berserker? No.
In the hand, you mean? Oh. There.
Scapclan Berserker came
I
into
didn't see
play
it.
for Jelle.
Yeah, okay. That's the Renown Menace, I think.
It's the one that deals damage whenever you play a spell or something like that.
Okay, a non-creature spell, I assume.
I think so, yeah.
Scapclan.
And apparently it had haste as well.
If it's attacking, it has haste, probably.
So yeah, Scapclan Berserker is...
Yeah, it had haste, Renown 1, a 2/2 for 3, and whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, if it's renowned, it deals 2 damage. So that's pretty good, even though I don't think Ian plays that many non-creature spells.
Yeah, he
But
already
it's
got
still-
rid of it with a Reef Soul.
With a Reef Soul, yeah, okay.
It isn't that relevant anymore.
Yeah. But still...
But
you
an
pro-
interesting addition to the deck,
Yeah.
for sure.
Notably, there's no Baby Jace on the deck list.
Yeah, it's one of the cards this deck usually plays, but I'm not sure if you know it, but Jelle had a bit of an unpleasant experience in GP Paris where his deck with his 4 Jaces was stolen. So
That's very unpleasant.
and they weren't his.
That's even worse.
So I guess
Yeah.
borrowing another
Yeah.
Jace is not what he wants to do
Yeah,
at this
I
point.
can completely understand what's going on then. So 2 elusive Spellfists versus 2 non-Tugo Husks now. And the Cutthroat.
Yeah.
So advantage Ian.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a race situation that favors Ian at this point. The attack is a bit iffy because you don't really have anything that you want to sacrifice.
But the Spellfist is still just a 1/2, right?
It's a 1/3.
Oh, 1/3, yeah.
Yeah, I would have blocked here and just
Yeah, probably.
see what he eats.
I mean, yeah, he's gonna have to sack one of his creatures, and you're fine with that.
Yeah.
I think I'd be happy trading a Husk or a Cutthroat for a Spellfist.
Especially since he has a Storm Chaser Mage still in his hand.
Yes.
So he has refill potential.
And there's a Swift Spear.
Swift Spear and Storm Chaser Mage in hand.
And I think that's a Titan Strength or a Brute Strength. Well, this is a slip through space on the Swift Spear.
So everything's unblockable and has 2 power at this point. This
Yes.
is again big punch
the explosive
out of
punches.
near nowhere.
Yes. And there's a Titan Strength.
And a Titan Strength, so that's another
4
6
damage.
extra damage.
6 damage, yeah.
So that's 12.
2, 3, 6.
Yeah, 12.
That's 12 damage.
Unblockable.
Sending Ian down to 6. That is very painful.
Yeah, with Jelle still on 19. This,
Yeah. Ian's gonna need a lot of. He's probably gonna need Cutthroat, Emissary to survive the next attack.
Yeah.
Or something similar.
But
Something
it
to
could
give a
also
lot
be
of life.
possible that Jelle used up most of his hand. He can assume that,
I
but
can assume that.
it's a scary
Sure.
assumption.
But still, Jelle needs a single Titan Strength to win here, right?
Yeah, a single Titan Strength.
Assuming
is
no
enough.
removal or interaction from Ian, a single Titan Strength wins the game here.
Yes, 7
A
damage.
single Battle Rage as well. Because that makes both of the Spellfists 2 power and 1 with double strike, so.
Oh,
Assuming Ian has no interaction, it would be lethal. Of
so
course,
he has
he can.
Brute Strength, Battle Rage, and Titan Strength
Yeah.
as finishers.
But Ian can still sack the Husks to gain 2 life.
So he's keeping 1 back. The deck doesn't play that many slip-through spaces. Most of them play only 2 or 3.
Jelle is playing 3 slip to space.
So assuming that he'll get to block at least 1 creature isn't that much of a stretch here.
No, but there's a slip through space,
There we go.
and
That's lethal on
it's
its own.
It's lethal on its own, but Ian can still sack the
Yeah,
Husks.
he has a Titan Strength in his hand.
Yeah, then it is lethal. Unless Ian has interaction, but he doesn't have instant speed removal, so. I don't think there's anything Ian can possibly have here.
No, Ian has nothing instant speed.
Nope. At most, he can have negates or dispels for the bump spells, but that's not gonna help here. He can go up to 8 if he wants to.
Another slip through space and then another Titan Strength. He's attacking for 15 or something here. Okay, and Ian scoops him up. So
for Jelle.
Jelle wins 2-0.
There we go.
And we're gonna move over to some older coverage to keep you guys entertained in between rounds. So we'll be back probably in around 20-25 minutes. See you guys later. Tweet in. Ruud can impact the board enough. A token free blade hits the board, but I'm afraid he's gonna need significantly more than that. Okay, I'm Niels. I'm here with Tom Vandevelde again on his Esper Midrange deck. So this is a Gentry standard deck. It's our budget version of standard. Tom, could you please explain to us what kind of deck this is and what exactly it does or try to do?
So I'm playing an Esper midrange or Esper good stuff deck that is basically designed, as most midrange decks are, to have shored up a lot of their weaknesses. So I'm trying to have a deck that, especially post-sideboard, can have an answer to every deck in the format. And the card I most wanted to build around actually was this one, is Flaying Tendrils, which I think is very good in the current metagame, because there are a lot of very good decks that play tokens and a lot of very good decks that play flyers with 2 toughness. So I wanted to play Flaying Tendrils, but I also wanted to play a deck that could put pressure, which is hard to combine because you don't have a lot of creatures that actually, early creatures that survive Flaying Tendrils. So that's why I kind of tried to find creatures that work well with Flaying Tendrils, and those are Token Freeblade and Seeker of the Way, because Token Freeblade becomes a 3/3, and then Seeker of the Way has Prowess, so when you cast the Flaying Tendrils it becomes a 3/3 and it doesn't die, and then my other creatures are all flyers and 2/3s. So none of my creatures actually die to Flaying Tendrils, so I can play a pressure game and still have this control element.
Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the cards in the deck as well. Can you just briefly walk over what the cards are and what they're there for?
Okay, so like most mid-range decks, I'm playing a little bit of removal next to Flaying Tendrils. I'm playing Complete Disregard and Reef Soul, which I think are 2 of the better removal spells in the format, especially in the Esper colors. I also play Spell Shrivel, and now there are a few cool interactions here. I'm playing Ulamog's Nullifier as one of my uncommons, which is a flyer, which works well with Thunderclap Wyvern, which makes it bigger. But Ulamog's Nullifier, if your opponent has 2 cards in exile, you can also use it to counter a spell, which gives you extra value. But so you need to get cards into exile, and how do you do this? Through Flaying Tendrils, Complete Disregards, and that's why I'm playing Spell Shrivel, because it's an extra outlet to exile cards. Then I have a little bit more card advantage with Read the Bones in the main deck, and I have Anticipate, and the reason why I'm playing Anticipate over more raw card draw is because after I play my 2-drops, actually all of my deck is at instant speed, so I want to be able to keep open mana to play either Thunderclap Wyvern or Ulamog's Nullifier, and that's why I'm playing instant speed removal in Complete Disregard, counter spells, and then Anticipate to smooth out the curve, because my mana base is definitely the worst part of the deck, and I need the Anticipates to get the right colors of mana. So the decks gives you a lot of decision trees, which is something I like. And then the rares are, I guess, what you're going to ask about next. I'm playing 3 of the best rares in the format in Gideon, Dragonlord, Ojutai, and Wingmate Rock. All 3 basically just win you the game when you resolve them, which I think is what you want rares to do in this format. And then one thing that's kind of special and that not a lot of people do, I guess, is I'm playing 1 rare source for a land just to make sure that my mana base is just a little bit better, so I'm playing 1 Flooded Strands.
Okay, so do you have an idea of what your good and your less good matchups are?
Is dat van een van jullie?
I'm not sure. I'm actually not 100% sure. I think, like most of these kinds of good stuff decks, you have about 50-50 matchups in against most of the field, and you just want to outplay your opponents. So I'm not quite sure yet what my good and bad matchups are going to be, but I think most creature decks will be reasonably good matchups, and then most of my matchups, I think, get a lot better post-sideboard. So I think it's about 50-50 pre, and then maybe a little bit in my favor post-board. Okay, so you mentioned your sideboard already. Let's have a look at it. So what cards are here and what are they there for? Okay, so I'm playing like about 9 removal spells in the main deck, so I want to be able to take those out against control decks, which means I have about 9 cards against control in the sideboard. Those are the 2 negates, the Duresses, Treasure Cruise, and Midrange with 1 point advantage, and the 2 spells. And then, other than those cards, I have some cards to shore up, some problematic cards. If I'm playing against decks with a lot of tokens, then I bring in the Force Flame Tendrils. Playing against creature decks, I bring in the extra pacifisms. And when I'm playing like against Sphinx's Tutelage or the Black-White Enchantment deck, I bring in Felidar. So I have a lot of one-offs just in case I come across like strange matchups. Like I played against Ramp where I guess I wanted Disdainful Stroke against some of the big creatures instead of Negate. That's why I varied my answers a little bit. Okay, so if somebody would want to build this deck and does not have access to, for example, the rares and mythics you have, are there other options that you would suggest? I think there are other, of course, also pretty expensive rares that would fit the deck well, like Spren or Monastery Mentor, but I actually think the deck is fine even without the rares. They're powerful and they win you the game, but I don't think you really need them. If you want options that are a little bit less expensive, I think Ojutai's Exemplars is probably a good card in this deck because you have so many spells. And you get to, use a lot of tricks with that card. Other than that, maybe High Sentinels of Irration could also be good because it's good with the free blades. You can grow your flyers. It could also be a pretty good card. Icefall Regent, I think, would also be good, but then you would probably have to play a second island to accommodate the double. Yeah. So you want to focus mostly on a hard-to-kill finisher for your reaction. Yeah, I think so. Yes. Then the last thing I would like to talk to you about is your mana base again. Other deck decks we've done so far have been 2-color aggro decks that really try to limit the number of lands they play that come into play tap. Now, obviously, for you that was less of a concern. Yes, less of a concern, and also something I had to do. I actually wanted to play 10 tapped lands because I think 10 tapped lands is ideal for a mid-range deck. But it turned out that I couldn't get the color requirements I wanted. I wanted about 12 sources for the colors I play less, which are blue and white, and then I need a lot of double black for instance, Flame Tendrils early in the game. So I wanted to have more black sources. I have about 16 black sources. So I played 12 tapped lands, but the fact that they give you life is actually pretty good in some of the aggro matchups. And something I also want to maybe explain is I like having a lot of 2-drops and no 1-drops, and that is because then I get to play a tapped land on turn 1, an untapped land on turn 2. Okay, hello and welcome. I'm Niels. I'm here with Thijs Weten to talk about his Gentry deck. Thijs, welcome.
Hey, hello.
So what kind of deck is it, and more importantly, what exactly does it try to do?
Well, this is definitely an aggro deck, a special kind of deck, because the thing this deck aims to do the most is going wide. You do that with cards like Pia and Kiran, Roller Rogue and Sky Spawner, which all have very good synergy together. So, the thing that makes this deck work really good is most notably the Eldrazi cards. But the thing is, if you combine all the colorless strategies alongside those cards from Magic Origins, the top 2s they produce also colorless. So basically just jam the biggest creature you can, especially Hugaert, can get huge in most games, and try to kill them as fast as possible.
Okay, so let's start off with your main deck. Let's just walk through all the different cards and explain briefly why you're playing them.
Yep, so the Hedron Crawlers were not in the first build. The first version was not really as streamlined as this one because it also played Mist Intruder instead, the 1/2 flyer with ingest. Worked really bad, didn't work out. As a coincidence, I also tested Blue-Red Eldrazi in normal standard for the Grand Prix, and that list contained Hero Crawler. Was very happy playing it. Decided to also put it in the Gentry lists. Been very happy with it. Ramps you to turn 3 Whirler Rogue. Can even carry a Ghostfire Blade. Also, really sweet interaction with Whirler Rogue. You can actually top it alongside another artifact to make like this guy unblockable or this guy unblockable, which is one of the many cool interactions this deck provides. So that's a lot of talk about one hero and crawler. Next one is Kozilek Sentinel, which is, I deem this guy here as the necessary evil. It's not super good. I think if you look at the deck in a whole, this is the weakest card by far. But you need 2-drops, and this guy is really good on the defense as well. 4 toughness on the body, blocks 3/3s, can get pretty big fast. Also carries a Ghostfire Blade, very good. Play a Ruination Guide, attack for 3, turn 3, really works. Sky Spawner, just awesome card. Draft staple, modern staple, standard staple, Gentry staple, everything. Card next to it, Hugaert, the absolute best uncommon of the deck. Can get so huge, has trample to go alongside it. Just Gentry Starmagoyf.
Right.
Then we have Ruination Guides. Just the perfect synergistic card in this type of deck. It pumps everything of my deck except the 4 rogues and the 1 Pia in Kieran. So it's a natural inclusion. If you're building this deck, you have to start with this and then build around it, which is what I try to do here.
So this is really your core, the aggregates, and the Ruination guys.
Definitely the core. I would even consider the Sky Spawner also as the core of the deck.
Yeah.
Thing is, if you're building this and you look at the whole card pool, there are actually quite a lot of 3-drops. You have Herald of Kozilek, you have Nettle Drone. I think you have another one which is quite important, but can't think of it right now. But these one are clearly the best ones of the bunch. You can't overcommit in your 3-drops to maintain your perf. Then, going past that, we have the Whirler Rogue and also the Pia in Kieran, which is like 5 times the card that does mostly the same thing. Whirler Rogue being a bit more explosive into making creatures unblockable, while Pia in Kieran gives you a bit more reach, a bit more staying power. They just provide the flyers, they can go to everything. Also, this one here, Incubator Drone, first time I'm trying it tonight, because I'm pretty sure about 59 cards of the deck. This is the 60th.
Okay, hello, I'm Niels. I'm here with Ruud Merks to talk about this Gentry standard deck. So, Ruud, in short, what kind of deck is it? What does it do?
Well, it wants to control the board with enchantments and build up synergy with enchantments. So while controlling, you want to make your creatures bigger or have those special abilities, like for example lifelink. So the deck is basically built around enchantments, and there's also a lot of lifelink in it, so you can take a lot of damage while recovering in your next attack.
Yeah. So did you have any cards in particular you wanted to play with or build around when you started with this deck?
Yes, so the main focus when I built the deck was the large enchantment, the double white.
Sigil of the Empty Throne?
Yeah, Sigil of the Empty Throne, which makes 4/4 flying angels when you play enchantments. That was the card I originally built around. And then I saw cards like Blessed Spirits, which trigger upon casting an enchantment, and Bloodcurse Knight, which have all synergies with enchantments. So that was the main focus. And at that time, pacifism was also legal. And with the new set coming, like Battle for Zendikar with Stasis Snare, that was a very large addition to the deck.
Okay, so let's start with looking at your main deck.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just walk through every card that's in the main deck, and if you can give a short reason for why it's in your deck.
Okay,
so.
sure. Okay, so At the 2-drop space, we have 4 top and 3 blades, so it's a 2/2 with Vigilance for 2 mana, which is already great, but it also has Renown 1. So in fact, if you're at the play seat, you can get a 3/3 Vigilance for 2 mana, which is a very good card. Seeker of the Way is also a 2-drop, which is almost the same, except it doesnn't get a +1/+1 counter, but it gets lifelink when it's getting a Prowess trigger. As you can see here, these are all my Prowess triggers, including these two. So there's a lot of cards that trigger Seeker of the Way. So this is just a lot of value for not much mana.
Yeah, in this format you want to get on the board as soon as possible, so I assume
indeed.
That's why they're here. Okay.
Okay, now we move on to the 3 spot. We have 4 Blessed Spirits. The reason why I play 4 Blessed Spirits is especially because they have evasion, have flying. I've noticed that in the meta game it's very important to have evasion. You prefer having a 2/2 flyer than a 3/3 which is only on the ground. Also it gets larger with the enchantment, so that's a huge thing. The reason why I only play 1 Bloodcurse Knight is because it's only a 4/3, so the 3 toughness is not that great. In Gentry we prefer sometimes more toughness than power. Plus there's also lifelink from the Seekers, there's lifelink from Sultai as we see here, there's a lot of lifelink, so I just play a one-off because it's such a good card, but Blessed Spirits are better. Now we also have the Dragon Ball Monk. It's a common, which is very important. I didn't have any room left for uncommons, but it has a Prowess trigger as well as Vigilance. So it's very important when I play Flaying Tendrils that I don't blow up a lot of my board. Normally I shouldn't blow up anything. That's the reason.
So the Flaying Tendrils are a new addition?
Yes, they are a new addition. Why are they a new addition? I noticed that my deck is pretty good against large creatures which come solo. So I have a lot of spot removal, but decks that go large or broad are a problem for me. So that's why I play 2 of them on the main board, just to get rid of Topters, Scions, everything that makes a lot of creatures.
All right. I just realized I forgot to click start recording. So for future use, this is this is sideboarding for game 2 in this match. Tace won after a pretty epic back and forth with a lot of sweepers from Sander. So in case you're a new viewer and you have no idea what you're watching right now, this is a live stream of the League Standard tournament in Outpost Ghent in Belgium. League Standard is a budget format that was developed here to make sure that new players have a point of entry into Constructed without needing to build an entire standard deck, as those can be pretty costly these days. So the construction rules are 15 uncommons maximum and up to 4 uniquely different rares and or mythics. So you cannot play duplicate rares or mythics. And it provides for a very diverse and healthy metagame actually. We've seen a lot of different decks here. I see the question, is there an ally deck? At this point, there is a black-white life gain, life drain, which is pretty heavily ally focused, but a dedicated ally deck hasn't really broken out at this point. I know some people are playing Naya allies, so green, white, red allies, but they seem to always have a bit of issues finishing games or getting their mana. The black-white life drain, life gain ally deck that uses Kalastra healers and Zulaport cutthroats is more focused around Drana's emissary than around the ally chain. That just happens to be a very beneficial part of the deck. If you think there's an ally deck in the format, feel free to build it and come by a Thursday to test it out against some of the decks. There's always a bunch of guys here ready to test out some of their brews against you. So every second Thursday of the month we have a constructed format like this. It's a 4-round tournament where everybody goes home with boosters. If you go 4-0 you get 7 boosters, and even if you go 0-4 you'll go home with at least 2 boosters. So if you ever want to try this format, if you want to see what it's like to play with decks that are probably worth 20 euros or less, unless you stuff a bunch of expensive rares in there, this is the place to be. It's also really cool. Tace is not wearing his tiara again. Okay, so I hope you're happy now. So what I was saying, if you're interested in trying out the format, there's still a lot of deck building space that is left undiscovered. So this is still something where you can build your own cool deck and wreak havoc. Okay, no mulligans this time. So let's hope we have a nicely balanced game going. Okay, so we have an Evolving Wild from Sander and a Gain Land from Tace, both of them having access to their colors. Tace's Hedron Crawler back, and Sander gets rid of it straight away. Ah, no, wait. Sander replies with that was pretty confusing there. I think Tace was a bit confused as well. Okay. Tace, Gyselinck's Predator. So this looks like after we got the demonstration of the Thopter aspect of his deck, we're going to see the void side of his deck. It's funny to see these kind of things happen. It's like in round 1 where Niels Vandevelde started out with a very aggressive token strategy and then came back in game 2 with an all creatures draw. It really threw off Ian's capability for sideboarding, casting several duresses that hit nothing. Okay. Sander chooses to display his deck. Guess he's really proud of it at this point. So far a very quiet start to this game. I guess everybody's watching this full of anticipation for the coming madness. The Gyselinck's Predator can start becoming an issue, but at this point it's just a 1/4. And a Vile Aggregate that gets taken care of with a horribly awry. Well, my pronunciation is starting to go down. I'm really tired at this point, so excuse me for that. Oh, and a Dispel to protect. So Tace is ready for this control matchups. And finally, Sander gets some damage. So Murderous Cut takes care of the Vile Aggregate. That can get out of hand pretty quickly. A Whirler Rogue or Pia and Kirin next turn could have had that attacking for 5. Pretty painful. But Sander recognizes the danger and neutralizes it. Attacking for 1. Sander playing draw go. But right now he's not under a lot of pressure, so let's see when Thijs ups the ante here by committing something to the board. Yeah, commentating on your own is it's pretty hard. The fact that you have to keep finding something to talk about is pretty exhausting. It's pretty hard on the throat as well. Okay, missed some interactions there, sorry. Thijs, life totals? Thijs, life totals? Okay, apparently we didn't miss any damage though. It's the most important thing. Thank you, Thomas. It means a lot to me to hear that I'm doing a good job. I'm having a lot of fun as well. It's pretty cool to be doing this. So in the meantime, Thijs keeps poking Sander for 1. I think that's a whirler rogue, yeah. So finally committing something to the table. This might be the critical mass Sander was waiting for, yeah, for a tendrils. He learned from that game 1 not to fire off his tendrils prematurely. Plays the land, goes back up 1. And that's the thing with these control decks. They're always waiting for that point where they need to answer something, and if they do have the answer, it can look like a pretty big sweep. 16.
15 voor Sander.
Ah ja, oké.
No protection, no.
Again, a little miscommunication. Okay, viewers, welcome back to round 4 of the Gentry Standard Tournament. We have Vandevelde, Niels and Peter Geernaert. Let me just move that name over so it's readable on the camera. Both these players are regulars in our events. Let's have a look, see what they're playing. Niels is playing his black-red token / dash deck. We have a deck tag from that, so we might put it on in between the rounds. Peter in the meantime is playing what can only be described as Nantuko Husk without Nantuko Husks, really. So what he aims to do really is get to, what's the name again? Why is everything mixed up? He wants to play the Ruthless Deathfang. It's the 4/4 dragon that whenever you sacrifice a creature, your opponent has to sacrifice a creature as well. He has quite a bit of other stuff that he can get to, and other than that he's mostly a green-black deck with blister pots and catacomb sifters and science summoner to get to the science he uses.
I like the name. Got to sack 'em all.
Okay, and we're off here. So we see Peter going for a mulligan. Niels keeping his initial 7. So the dynamics of this deck will be interesting, since we have 2 decks that are looking to go pretty wide with tokens. I think that Niels will be the faster deck of the 2, with Peter having a bit more trump cards for the late game. So if the games do go long and Peter manages to stay at a healthy life total, he has a pretty good chance to win the match. I don't see him having very fast starts. Another thing that's so Niels' deck is a bit of a double deck. He has the Ambuscade Shaman dash package with the what's the Reckless Bushwhacker to give all his creatures +1/+0 and haste to make pretty much any token generator pretty impressive. And we're off to the races. I think Peter went all the way down to 5. Greetings, nice guy. Welcome to the chat. If you have any questions or want to know something, feel free to ask. We're here for your answers.
Aha, ik ook. Oh nee. Always the same with you.
Okay, we're still developing the stream, so if you have any suggestions on how we can improve, we already have better cameras and lights ordered. Just let us know. And we have a blister pod attacking a board that has an Ambuscade Shaman. With Niels opting to take the damage.
Even though I don't care about
Well, nice guy. The kind of deck that you are seeing right now is Niels is playing a red-black token deck, and Peter, he is playing got the Sakamal deck, green-black with a sack outlet. Whenever you sack a creature, your opponent sacks a creature. So those are the two decks right now.
Okay, and Peter clears the board with a Bone Splinters on his blister pot, and then uses the Scion to cast a Read the Bones to reload.
If you do not know much about any decks, then you are on the right stream. Just keep on watching, and whenever you have a question, please ask.
There's actually a lot of decks that are viable. We've already seen blue-white control with Tutelage on screen. We've seen blue-red Prowess on screen. We saw Sultai Husk on screen. And there's plenty more. We have landfall decks and black-white enchantments, black-white warriors, black-white allies. Eldrazi aggro is also a top contender. But on board right now we have a Carrion Thrall, and on the other side an Ambuscade Shaman, and now a Topter Engineer makes hasty Topters that get buffed by the Ambuscade Shaman. So this Topter is attacking for 3 the turn it comes into play. Well, the Prowess deck, the really good Prowess deck is blue and red. That's a Scion Summoner, I think, yeah. And an attack with the Thrall. Yeah, the health with the pieces of paper is mostly to accommodate you guys, and also so we don't have to keep an eye on the life totals ourselves as commentators, because then we need to be close to the players, and that way we can't really freely talk about the contents of their deck. So we have an attack for 4 in the air. One of them has the Ambuscade Shaman power buff. So Bacalea Maria, you just said hi to the entire outpost. You're on the big screen here. Okay, and we have another attack. This time Niels isn't afraid to block with his engineers, and we have a touch of Moonglove. I thought it was Moonglove extract to make the attack lethal. Not sure if that was a very constructive attack. And the summoner hits for 2.
Speel die ook discard cards. Ja.
Ik heb ook een uitdaging.
And another thrall. About the players, by the way, Niels is Tom Vandevelde's brother, which we saw earlier in coverage. They test and build decks together, and they develop this together. So it's a pretty formidable testing team when it comes to Gentry standard. Right now it looks less impressive than we've seen the decks go before. Ring and pedestal just to be able to flip it and the next life shows up underneath. I have no idea what you're talking about. Pieces of paper sound simpler.
Yeah, I think it means like you have those cardboard thingies where you can just switch them.
Yeah.
I think it means that.
But it needs to be visible.
Yeah.
Okay, in the meantime we have a murderous cut taking care of the ambuscade shaman. I hope that was before the dash. So this is an attack for 4. No, it was after the dash. That's poor timing. So if he removed, if he had removed it in response to the dash ability, then the imp would not have gotten +2/+2. But apparently the imp is staying into play. Niels, moet die imp terug naar uw hand? Okay, they overlooked the fact that it was dashed into play, so we fixed that.
Ultimate price.
Thanks. He wants to, but he can't. Dat blauw gewoon
Okay, so Peter on 5 and still on the offensive. I hope he has a plan, because the attack back could just flat out be lethal. Peter is one of the more casual players we have here. He's very keen on making his own deck brews, which are very interesting and surprising, but tend to be a bit suboptimal. He really didn't want to play Nantuko Husk again in this deck, because so many people already do. And Niels already crafting a plan for next turn, seeing if he can risk any of, well, the engineer. Don't forget it gives other artifact creatures haste as well. Yes, now I know what you're talking about, nice guy. Yeah, we simply didn't have that available. I know they have it in Outpost Brussels for their streams, so we could look into if we can find one of those. Okay, in game, Niels chose to block the carrier thrall. Did he? Or did he block? No, he blocked a Scion.
Normally Saturday is Friday.
And then reloads with a carrier thrall. Okay, so now Niels in the tank. It looks like he has a plan here.
Ja, dat blijft leven in deze.
Een trample ook zie.
Evolving Wild, fetching a swamp. I haven't seen anything in his hand yet, so I'm not sure if he has a finishing move here. He did take enough damage to possibly die from an attack back if the Alpha Strike here fails. That's relevant. Yeah, the Izzet deck is pretty cool. It has a crazy early game and the possible for a late game burst to finish off. It's pretty good. It's one of the top contenders, but it's not the only one. And we have a dragon fodder for Niels van der Velde. So this is round 4 of the event, by the way. It's a 5-round event. We have 26 players. After that we'll go into top 8, where we'll try to cover as much matches as possible.
Dat is een exile.
So I see the imp in Niels' hand and another dragon fodder. And just attacking with the engineer. Peter choosing to block it and conserve his life total. It's only for 1 damage. On the other hand, now he loses 1 power on his side of the board. And it's
Maybe it's for the best.
okay.
Peter being aggressive really is paying him off.
That one blew up. I don't think the file got transferred. Oh. Alhoewel, ik heb zo'n over op de
So he's attacking with the Sign Summoner, which is a 2/2. I totally agree with that attack, but the Carrier Thrall just trades with a token here. Don't think he has any pump spells. He just has the touch of Moonglove, and that's it. He's still playing the 4 Bone Splinters, even though he realizes that they have less good synergy with Ruthless Deathfang, so I'm interested to see if that is going to come into play. Of course, when your opponent is playing quickly or doesn't realize, it's not so relevant that they can sacrifice the creature you're targeting with the Bone Splinters. Both players here setting in for a game where they just stare at each other from across the board. Do remember that Niels has his Reckless Imp in hand, so he can dash it into play for haste or just play it and have his mana available should he want to. No, we're not from Germany actually, we're Belgian. We're in Ghent in East Flanders. Is my accent that bad?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Niels had the Kolagan to finish Peter off. That's a 1-0 to Niels. A game that was going pretty even until Big Bad Dragon showed up. So where are you from, nice guy? So in the rest of the tournament, in the meantime, we already have 2 top tables that have started drawing because they think they can get into top 8. Well, remains to be seen if that is the fact. and so these are players who are on 2-1 right now in a 5-round event. A win here keeps their hopes for a top 8 spot alive. Going down to 2-2 is probably missing out on top 8 for sure. That's okay, I'm not offended, nice guy, don't worry about it. Okay, so both players are finishing their sideboarding. So so let's take a quick look at the sideboard here. For Niels we have Boiling Earth, Impact Tremors, wow, Sprinting Warbrood, Duress and Complete Disregard, so the sweepers will most likely come in and make quite an impact. And then for Peter we have Aerial Volley, Caustic Caterpillar, Duress and Reef Soul. He already has some sweepers in his main deck, I think. No?
No sweepers.
No sweepers whatsoever, so... No. He has Ugin, yes, well... And Niels is playing mostly Goblin token, so that can do something, but his sideboard, the Duress, it's a hit or miss. Like if your opponent is holding his Hordling Outbursts and his Dragon Fodders, then sure it will remove something, but this deck is still more than 20 creatures. Is it? Let's just check. 1, 2, 3... 7, 11, 15, 19, 22, so yeah, 22 actual creature cards. So that's, yeah, both opening 7, so let's try not to miss then. Enjoy your rail, man. Okay, and we're off to the races. Peter starting on 21 with one of the game lands, Niels opening with an Evolving Wilds.
And we have a scorekeeper.
We have a life total scorekeeper, yes. Peter Takke is in the feature match area, herding the life totals at this point. I have a Blister Pod. It's the 1/1 Eldrazi drone. If it dies, you get a Scion. Okay, bye, nice guy. Thanks for hanging around. So, the Blister Pot will get some company on the other side of the table in the form of 2 Goblin tokens. That was a Dragon Fodder. Apparently we do have a Glare corner there. Also we've ordered some new equipment, in particular light and cameras. So we'll have a lot more control over the quality of the image and the light in future streams. This should be a monthly stream from now on. We'll do some more test runs on some coming Thursday evenings, just to set up stuff and do some deck tags and make some hopefully interesting content for you guys. So Catacombs Sifter comes in, the 1/1, I forgot his name now. The Blister Pod attacked and traded with a token and replaced himself with a Scion. We have a dashed in Imp and a Gainland. Yeah, the Reckless Imp, that is. Does his job, goes back to hand.
I didn't give a shit.
So Peter with the superior board at this point.
Buy a booster pack. Het is to be rich enough to buy a booster pack. Oh ja, inderdaad. En nog een paar.
And adds a Carrion Thrall to it.
Where do all these things come from? Magic.
Just Sander. Het is vol met Sander is een achternaam. Het is altijd met de naam is Judge.
And an attack with the Sifter puts Niels at 19.
Oh fuck off. Ja, nee, het is goed.
Okay. This game is developing pretty slowly. It's starting to wonder what else is in Niels' hand that he has kept this. I see a bunch of lands there.
What happened there?
And oh, Peter did board in the aerial volleys. I think that's purely against the Reckless Imps. There's not much else that's hitting. And some top tier tokens. The second imp does find a home.
Why do you need orders for a slime?
Moeilijk concept.
Als je die Wild Slash speelt, is de respons van mijn attack.
And Peter back on the offensive. So he's attacking for 6. Niels trading with the Carrion Thrall, who brings a Scion instead, and still hitting for 6. Our scorekeeper is confused as to which side the damage needs to go. So he hits for 4, yeah, 2 was blocked. And we have another Blister Pod. 4 mana, 1 card. I think I saw a Murderous Cut in his hand.
I didn't see it.
So in Niels' hand I see at least 4 lands and 4 lands. No, that's a top tier engineer and the Reckless Imp. Okay, so at this point Niels' hand only has lands, and of course Peter doesn't know this. He's still staring down an opponent with 4 cards in his hand.
No one will know what the burn is.
Again, Peter looks to be in quite a good position in this game. Just hope he realizes how far ahead he is at this point and tries to capitalize on it. Of course, he doesn't have a lot of capitalizing to do here. The 1/3 engineer, yeah. Either you play scared or you go all in. So not much choice there. Niels probably blocking the Blister Pod here. Remember, he has the Boiling Earth probably available to him, but he goes for a Scion after all.
Pretty soon I'll draw that one anyway. There's 2 of them in there.
So 5 damage?
Yep. And the Scion Summoner.
Doesn't get Peter to scry. Isn't that the one that says whenever a creature dies, you can scry?
Yes. But he's missing his triggers.
Yes. Important, don't forget your triggers.
Peter, if you're looking at this on a later time, you're doing a good job, but you need to remember your triggers. I'm 99% sure he's gonna hear this. Then I'm gonna get a soggy Facebook message. Okay, so did Niels draw anything really relevant. I mean, this board looks impressive for Peter, but remember that it is a very, very fragile board. Like one boiling earth can undo 2/3 of it at this point.
Does he even have cards in his hand? Yeah.
Yeah, he has one card.
Okay.
So the Reckless Imp, I think that's eaten up 10 mana at this point. Niels in the meantime, yeah, here we go with the Boiling Earth. Niels choosing not to play it for its Awaken cost, which would have been really interesting. It makes a 3/3, right? So that would have been enough to punch through the Scion Summoner that survives. I think I would have not played the Imp here and just gone for the Awakened Boiling Earth.
Yeah, because it's also bigger than the Void. What's it called?
This Catacomb Sifter.
Yeah, Catacomb Sifter. Void Crafter is the band one.
Okay, so the Blisterpot Ties brings a Scion token along with it. That's why Peter is still on 3 creatures. Now has a safe attack with the Summoner and the Catacomb Sifter. It only deals 2, and then that sort of frees up the don't attack with the Scion. Yeah, alright. So both these creatures have 2 toughness, so they survive the block. And again, Peter comes through for 2 damage. Now with the Imp in his hand, Niels is attacking for 3 each turn that Peter can do very little about. Oh, and I think that's a Reckless Bushwhacker. Yeah, in Niels' hand. So he has the possibility for very explosive draws at this point. So if one of his next draws is even just a Dragon Fodder, Hoarding Outburst would be even better. He just flat out wins. So he'll choose to play instead of dash the Imp. No, he's gonna dash it anyway. So this isn't an insurance that he's doing, because by dashing the Imp, he's going for the Goblin already. What he also could have done is just dash in the Imp and attack in the air, because he's already winning that race as well.
No, he didn't. No, look at this.
So this is for 5 in the air.
We beat the cosplayers really hard.
Here it might have been interesting to just attack with the Goblin and the Engineer as well, because the attack back isn't lethal, and this color combination has a hard time playing pump effects. Oh, that's the Smothering Abomination. So Peter now has a card draw engine. It's worth of note that you have to sacrifice the creature to actually get to draw cards, so you cannot trade them in combat and draw cards off of them that way. Sure, blocking the Scion is interesting that way. Peter is playing Ugin, so that was a possibility.
Sorry.
Okay, again, Peter missing all his cry triggers. So I think that's an Ambuscade Shaman. Yeah, I think this is lethal for Niels. Ambuscade Shaman into Imp into Alpha Strike. Ah no, but The abomination has flying. Oh. There's a reply. Yeah, the murderous cut. Murderous cut takes care of the ambuscade shaman. That makes it so that the imp won't be able to attack, since the abomination is a 4/3 flying. And now we're back to the tank. So Niels has no attack here. In Peter's turn, Peter has to sacrifice his catacomb sifter. Then he draws an extra card off of that. Well, first he forgets his trigger, then he draws an extra card.
See, you could have had a very good draw if you just scryed first, Peter. Peter.
Okay, so Peter has to go on the offensive here. He has to try and push through. And he chooses not to. So this is, I don't agree with this choice because now all Niels needs to do is sit there and wait one turn, and Peter has to sacrifice the abomination. At least when he attacks, he can force Niels to block with the token. Oh, but he has aerial volley. Okay, apparently we lost our camera. We're just a second. We're reconnecting. Alright, so we should be back up now. Yeah, we're still testing out some of the software we're using here, so yeah. The session ended. Okay, so we're back. Sorry, not sure what we missed. I assume the smothering abomination had to sacrifice itself. And we have Peter recharging with a catacomb sifter. Okay, we're back.
Omdat ze denken dat ze met 3-0-2 sowieso in top 8 zitten. Ja.
So behind us they're already doing the discussions on whether or not it's okay to draw into top 8 already.
I had a player asking me how you can ask your opponent to draw without getting bribery or something. So as long as you don't have a clausel, as long as you don't give an if clausel, like if we draw then you get or then we get, you shouldn't have any problems. So if you want to draw, just ask your opponent, just don't give anything in return for it.
Okay, so Niels dashing, I think playing his imp and then surging in his goblin and still deciding whether he wants to attack with everything or not. He could attack with his goblin if Peter blocks. That means he takes 5. I think I would have attacked here. Yeah, Peter choosing not to block, and apparently the imp wasn't dashed in. The bushwhack gives haste, right?
Yes, and +1/+0.
Yeah.
If you pay the search cost.
Okay, Peter gaining 1 life off a gain land. And then playing a Bone Splinter to get rid of the Goblin. And now an empty board, a 2-turn clock. But Niels still has the Imp, so I assume that Peter has some removal for the Imp at this point, but he doesn't. Okay, Niels wins 2-0. So, thank you very much for watching. We'll put some older coverage on the stream right now until the beginning of round 5, which will be the final round. From the game land, Sander lost one from the attack. So Thijs keeps poking for one, but Sander is sick of it. So 2 empty boards, that's quite an advantage for Sander at this point. Thijs does have the land that can produce 2 top turrets, but whether he wants to sacrifice that already is what he's contemplating right now. His deck does run on a rather low curve. I think it tops out at 4, so unless he's trying to go for a turn where he plays multiple things, yeah. So he chooses not to go for it. That's a heightened awareness. Sander further sculpting his hand, making sure he has all the available answers. And he cancels and protects his card draw spell from the Disdainful Stroke. So Thijs' sideboard features both Dispel and Disdainful Stroke. Yeah, the format's amazing, Quest Beaver, and if you could, you should really try to get over here if you're in Belgium. If you're not, you try to start something up, start your own community. It's what I would suggest to pretty much everyone. It's pretty awesome. And it's a great tool to get new players in. So Quest Beaver, if you want to, you can contact me. Stay in the chat for a while. We'll see if we can do something to see if I can get something started in your vicinity. So that's his Pearl Lake Ancient. And Sander anticipates. So Sander playing Pearl Lake Ancient is him telling that he wants to try and go on the offensive.
14-16.
Okay. They're still attacking for free in the air, just like the previous game. And Thijs has the Hedron Crawler as an emergency blocker. Okay. Yep. So this is a race Thijs is losing. I wonder what his plan is here. He has a lot of chump blockers, of course, when it comes to that. And he just wants to do as much damage as possible before he needs to start doing that. Just has to watch out that Sander doesn't have a removal spell if he only leaves one chump blocker behind. It's another heightened awareness. So, remember last game I talked about the deck philosophy, the ability to keep playing relevant cards. Again, Disdainful Stroke gets cancelled, so Sander gets to sculpt his hand. And the treasure cruise. Yeah. Saunders chaining draw spells together. His hand must be pretty impressive at this point. Again, the disdainful stroke gets cancelled. It's a bit ridiculous at this point. Yeah, so that's also a couple prowess triggers, and see, yeah, that's the problem. So if I'm not mistaken, that's 3 prowess triggers. Yeah, but he doesn't have the 4th spell. Yeah. Oh, he does have the 4th spell. It's the Grasp in Darkness. Bam, that makes it 1-1. Okay, that's cool. I love when matches go to game 3, especially when it's back and forth like this. We've had some pretty nice matches on camera right now. It's pretty lucky there. Ik heb dat er nog niet opgezet. We gaan dat er binnenkort wel mee. So, sorry, we don't have an indicator on screen to show the games. Right now, both players have won 1 game, and we're going to game 3. Yeah, we'll see to put a games indicator in the green area in the middle, the gray area in the middle soon. Like I said, we're still learning and looking to improve. So, Estoril, actually all these cards are standard legals, or they're from the last couple of sets, and if you have an active community of drafters in your community, I'm pretty sure they can give you 99